In this video, we're going to be looking at some major points in the Public Health Regulations 2021 as well as the Emergency Power Regulations 2021. Stay tuned. One of the major aims of the both regulations is to control, monitor, and guide persons' behavior and access to public spaces. General description of public places would include roadways, public parks or gardens, so we can't have picnics in those sort of places. It would include bodies of water such as the beaches, public pools. You're looking at waterfalls or dams, ponds, places I really love to go as well, so we can't have access to those places. Or any place which is enclosed or open where the public would normally have access to, whether it's through payment or otherwise, we do not have access to those places. Now the regulations as well also speak to what we call essential services. Now I'm in agreement with you that all persons' jobs are important and they are essential, but because of the particular predicament that we find ourselves in, the government has identified essential services which are required to have the country operating or at least surviving with the minimum amount of persons being out. Now, these essential services, I'm going to leave the list of them in the description below, as well as the definition of public spaces according to the emergency power regulations in the description below, so you can have a look at those. The emergency power regulations go even further in stating that in providing or receiving these essential services must be done within a specific period of time. The time would be Monday to Thursday between the hours of 5:01 to 8:59, and then Friday to Sunday during the hours of 5:01 to 6:59 p.m. A person could be out providing an essential service or receiving an essential service according to the emergency regulation list. Now, if it is that a person has to be outside of those hours, then you would have to apply to the Commissioner of Police and ask for permission. Unless there's some particular emergency that you find yourself in and you have to be out, you just have to justify accordingly. The regulation stipulates that we must wear a face mask, face shield or face covering when we're in public spaces. Now I did a video on wearing face masks earlier on my channel, so you can have a look at that video. I'll leave it right in the link above there. Now there are some exceptions for persons not wearing face masks. One, if you're in a vehicle by yourself, there's no need for you to be wearing face masks. Also, children who are below the age of 8, they do not have to wear face masks. Now, the law also says that there's some reasonable excuses for persons to not be wearing face masks. For example, physical or mental illness. Persons who you may see on the street, some persons may have mental illnesses and they are unable to comply with the requirement of wearing face masks. The law allows for that and requires that us persons who are not mentally disabled or have mental illness or any physical challenges to be wearing a face mask to protect them. Also, if there's severe distress in wearing the face mask, that is also a reasonable excuse. It also says if you have to communicate with a person and that person relies upon lip reading, that is also a reason for not wearing a face mask, if it is to avoid injury to yourself or to others. So let's say, for example, if a person possibly is getting a fit, it may be best that that face mask or face shield is removed from the person accordingly. Person is probably having a heart attack as well, they may need to have that face mask removed. So those would just be some examples of that causing harm to yourself or injury to others. If you are traveling to avoid injury to yourself as well, say for example you may be running from a particular person who is trying to harm you, that would be one reason for not wearing your face mask, to escape some risk to yourself. If it is for reasonably necessary for you to eat, drink, or to use medication. Remember as well, the regulation says that we cannot drink alcohol in public, so you cannot be drinking alcoholic beverages. Any other sip of water, regular juice, or even if it's to eat something, you can remove your face mask for that. Or for security purposes or for identification purposes, you may be required to remove your mask briefly. Now, if you don't wear your face mask or you're caught without your face mask without a proper excuse or reasonable excuse, then you could be fined $1,000. If you do believe that you have a reasonable excuse for not wearing your face mask, there's a notice of appeal in the regulations that you need to lodge in order for you to be heard by the court, and then they will determine whether or not you had a reasonable excuse to not be wearing your face mask. A unique part of the regulations is that although some acts and events are restricted or prohibited according to the regulations, such as having public fetes, having daycare operating water parks, restaurants and bars, even consuming alcohol in public, that is restricted, having group events, group sports, exercising, all of these events, they're restricted according to the regulations. However, it provides for an exception where a person must apply to the minister to get permission to perform one of these acts or to be permitted to do one of these events during this period. Now, I have seen where there are persons who are breaking the regulations, whether they are outside during curfew hours or they are non-essential workers and they are on their work, etc. And I've seen where the courts are addressing this breach in appropriate manners, in looking at what might be the best sentence for persons who are causing harm to other persons in the public and even to themselves. So I've seen where there are persons who are being fined up to $15,000, $20,000 for breaching the regulations. I've also seen some cases where there are persons who are being sentenced to 3 months imprisonment. That is the most I've seen, 3 months so far. Now, the maximum penalty for a person breaching the regulations would be $250,000 max, or 6 months imprisonment. Now, I know that it's very difficult for numerous persons, and what the government has tried to do is to introduce some support systems for persons who may need financial support or other relief during this period. So there are some websites that you could visit and see if you could get assistance through those programs. Also, there's various groups out here, religious groups and civil groups, who are also providing assistance to persons who need the help. And then, just as Caribbean persons, there's always your neighbor next door who you could always go and borrow something from, or your friend down the road who has a garden and he's willing to give you some provision to cook something quite unique. For example, fig choker, fig talcary, tomato choker, and so on, some very tasty meals. So you guys, I know it's a very difficult season for numerous persons, but we are going to get through this together. Let's see how we could band ourselves together and see how we could help as much persons as possible as we get through this difficult period. My next video, I want to speak about vaccination. I'm hoping that I could do all my research by the time I want to do that video. And if you haven't already, just make sure that you subscribe. Go right below there, subscribe, share this video and my other videos with other persons, as I try to build this channel to share information with persons. This is not legal advice, but it's a channel to encourage persons to learn about the law and see how I could simplify the law for you so that you would know of your legal rights and just stay engaged in conversations about the law. So subscribe, leave a comment right below there. Tell me of something that you're doing during this period. And if there's a question that you have regarding the regulations, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll try my best to see how I can answer those questions. You guys take care for now. Bye.